Welcome back to my little mini-series on all my favorite teaching materials. And in this video, we are going to be looking at the pieces, studies and exercise books that I really like to use with my more advanced students. And by more advanced, I mean really all the way from, in the British system, about grade 6 upwards, progressively all the way really to diploma, undergraduate training, and indeed many of the things which I still use in my own practice today. So let's take a look. Now, obviously, by that point, we will be looking to really work on the whole range of the instrument, right? We'll by that point be up in thumb position, and of course that opens a much wider array of materials we can use, and I want to go through some of those today. Now, of course, the absolute Bible for any advanced cellist is this book here, Popper, The High School of Cello Playing. Now, I was certainly raised on a very, very, very healthy diet of Popper, and I think to my great shame, I have to admit that I don't think I appreciated these studies as much back then as I do now. Now I absolutely love getting my teeth into them, both as a teacher, really dissecting them with my students, but also in my own practice. Now we'll talk a little bit more about these in a second. Whilst this book here is very, very famous, there is actually another set of Popper studies. So that is Opus 73, and then there is Opus 76. So 10 studies by Popper, which are really designed to sort of gradually get you up to the level of these high school studies. Now, it should be said that these ones here vary quite considerably also in difficulty, but this book here is actually very, very nice. And if you don't know it, I really recommend looking at that one. Again, freely available on IMSLP. All the links will be below. And these studies here, they just, I would say some of them are probably almost as difficult, if not more, as some of them in the high school, but they're not quite as long. And I really do recommend checking these out. I really like using these with my students. Now, coming back to the high school, first of all, I have to say there are quite a few different editions of the 40 high school studies available now. And I'm sorry to say I'm not a great fan of most of the more recent editions, where some bowings and fingerings have been changed. I think really the purpose of these studies is to do them exactly as they were written, and certainly the ones that you can find, for instance, on IMSLP, they have got the original Popper's original markings in there. So I'm very, very traditional with that. Now, obviously, as I already said, these ones cover a vast array of technical challenges. Some of these are considerably more difficult than others. So I would usually, with a student, let's say around sort of grade 6, 7, I would start on some of the earlier ones in this book. Sort of particularly, I'm thinking of number 6. I think number 6 is really a great starting point. The famous one here, which there's just so much you can train on it, especially, of course, good détaché, bow stroke, thumb position, shifting, intonation. So this is a really good introduction to Popper. Another one that's an absolute staple of the diet is number 2 for beautiful string crossings, and number 8 really for thumb position. So we will start with those studies and then gradually move into the, further into the book. I will never do these studies in order. So we'll really pick exactly what we need at the time. But of course, at that higher level, there are lots and lots of different books of studies. There is Grützmacher, there is Dupont, Franchomme, and I have really gone through most of the students. But I think when all is said and done, there is really not much that isn't covered in this book. So this is the absolute, again, this is the Bible. Yeah. Now, of course, I already showed you this book in the intermediate video. Feuillard, we are never too old or too advanced for Feuillard. There is always something in there that, when we come up against a challenge somewhere in our practice where there is a great remedy for this in here. So this is an absolute staple. Now, one book which perhaps you haven't come across, but which is much newer than the others, but which I really like, is this book here by my colleague Ellen Lidström, and it's called The Essential Warm-Up Routine for Cellists. Now, I came across this book a few years ago, and out of curiosity bought it for myself, and I absolutely loved it. So I really used this book for myself quite religiously for, I think, best part of nearly 2-3 years. And doing this it really gets you into shape, and into shape quite quickly. So lots of these exercises they're not sort of your typical studies. Some of them are sort of thinking much more outside the box, and you have to actually really, each chapter here comes with quite a lot of writing, and you really have to read that to understand what it is you're supposed to do. But the first chapter is all about open strings, and it just really gets into the sort of nitty-gritty of dynamic variety, bow speed, string crossings, preparing the arm. So it really makes you think, and anything that makes you think is good. Yeah. So that is absolutely brilliant. And then there's a whole chapter dedicated to balancing the left hand and to vibrato. I absolutely love these exercises. They're fantastic. And then there is a whole chapter on bow attack. Now, this is something we'll perhaps talk in a separate video about with you as well. Really, all the different ways in which you can start a note. It then goes on to agility of the left hand, octaves, spiccato. So all these sort of more, advanced aspects of playing the cello are covered in that. So I would say, especially if you're sort of grade 8, post-grade 8, or, already in conservatoire training, I would definitely urge you to get this book. This is really good. Now, another absolute staple of my students' diet is really all the wonderful sonatas and especially concertos written by cellists. So I have one here which I'm currently working with a student on, one of the Klengel concertinos. There are, I think, 3 or 4 of those, and of course you can't just find Klengel. You will find Romberg, Goltermann, Davidoff on a slightly sort of more advanced level. And the reason I absolutely love doing these pieces with with my students is because they really give you the technical grounding that you need to play the proper repertoire, so to speak. Yeah. So if you've mastered those pieces, you will never have any problem playing Boccherini or Haydn or Schumann concertos. Yeah. But I'm personally not a fan teaching the nuts and bolts of how to play the cello on what I would call concert repertoire, and especially not with students who are looking to go into professional training. Because what I found is, if you start working on, you know, let's say one of the Haydn concertos, without already having that technical armory you need in place, what can very easily happen is that you start to very early on to bake in some quite bad habits, which then, you know, 10, 15 years later, when you're practicing for auditions for a job, you're still trying to get those habits out of your Haydn D. So that's why I'm a huge fan of really making ample use of all these wonderful concertos out there that I've just mentioned, to really build up your technique. And finally, last but not least, as I already said in my intermediate video, an absolute staple of my work with students at that level is constantly working on what I would call sort of these little salon pieces. Yeah. What do I mean by that? Pieces like, give you some famous examples. This one, À présent rêve, Vocalise, Chant du Ménestrel, all of those wonderful little cello pieces. Why is that so important? Because those pieces are really where we learn really what I would say is the art of playing the cello. Vibrato, sound production, bow distribution, bow speed, color. So, and apart from the fact, of course, that, you know, everyone loves working on these pieces because it's such beautiful music, there is so much you can learn on those. And as I showed you in my previous two videos, I'm a great fan of these books. Here now, of course, as you can see, the writing is Russian, and of course the materials really are all compilations of the material which really has been used in these, you know, old Russian school of playing the cello for over 100 years. So and obviously, you know, it's been added to and made into these books. Now, as showed already in the intermediate video, there is another volume here, which is really sort of, as it says here, the middle classes of for children's specialist music schools, and this one here is for the older classes. So the pieces you have in here are really sort of these slightly more advanced concert pieces. Now, as I mentioned before, these are actually very easy to get hold of. Don't really come from Russia. They come from a wonderful online bookshop in Helsinki called Ruslania. And this book, with, I don't know how many, I mean, really at least 24 different pieces in there, if not more, costs €12. So, and they offer a fantastic service. Really arrives pretty much anywhere within, I think, maximum a week. So this book here, it really contains everything from what have we got here? We have got Arioso by Bach. We have got lots of very, very beautiful little Russian pieces which you may not have come across before. Veracini Largo, The Swan, Schubert, Shostakovich, Adagio, Glavunov, Chant de Menestrel, Rachmaninoff. So this really will keep you going for quite some time, and comes with a piano part as well. And it really contains lots and lots of pieces which are just fantastic little concert pieces. So it's just, they're all sort of very neatly in one book, and I quite like that. So of course, there is lots more material out there, and as ever, if you have any questions that you would like to ask me, just pop them into the comment section below, and I will try to get back to you. So I hope you enjoyed this little series, and perhaps it's given you some new inspiration for your practice to start the new academic year with. So happy practicing, everyone.